What's going on, people? It's your man the YB back once again. Big shout out to my doggy Lightstar 449 for coming through and boosting up the coin. Much love, General. So we got some breaking news right now regarding Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. The fight, it looks to be locked in. Unfortunately, though, there are some proper corny details. Now, if you've been following this topic and you've listened to some of the bars from Hearns and even Eubank himself, at one point I did a video a week or two ago and Conor Benn was saying, it's got to be 50-50. And Eubank said, listen, it's 55-45 or it ain't happening. And I think the common opinion was Conor Benn, given how he messed up the first fight, whether he was off the moody eggs or not, there was something in his system. Eubank didn't pop. And all due respect, has Eubank had the most flourishing career? Maybe, maybe not. I'll tell you something for free. At this point in time, he's done 10 times more than Conor Benn, for sure. Conor Benn hasn't even had to go on the old heads. Like, for example, I'll tell you what. When Chris Eubank beat, I don't know, James Deshot, yeah? And Eubank had to go on James Deshot, that would be the equivalent of, like, I don't know, Conor Benn having beat, pick someone, Josh Taylor in a year or two. Josh Taylor's on the way out, right? Maybe not. James Deshot was well finished, but you get the point I'm making. Eubank does have some old washed up wins in there. Conor Benn, who's he got? Algieri, come on, man. Algieri and some other dude, some South African cat. Yeah, and ever since then, to be honest, ever since the hen gate, ever since the egg gate took place, Conor can't punch for toffee, man. He can't punch. He's had no stoppages since egg gate, which is suspect, because he was blowing dudes back out, right? That's what he was doing. Anywho, 2-2s. In the last week or so, Chris Eubank Jr. has come out, and Eddie Hearn have come out and said, they haven't told us the details of it, but more or less, in fact, I think I've got the leaked situ somewhere. Eubank, I should have got this up really, to be fair. It's one of them. Here we go. Let's get this one up. Essentially, Eubank just says, 2 weeks ago he said, and then unless it's 55-45 my way. Team Hen was saying, oh man, whoop-de-whoop, 50-50. A week later, at the Ring Awards, Eubank sounding pretty positive, as is Hearn. I.e., we're literally going to get an announcement this week. And now we also have the Ring magazine, who we know is owned by Turkey, confirming this. The fight's locked in. And there's some clauses we're going to get to in a second, which is just mad. I don't know what Eubank... I guess Eubank's super confident, but I don't like this. I don't like these rehydration clauses. The cat's out the bag, folks. Anyway, here's the bars from Eubank.
As far as I know. So within the next week, we should have it all.
The announcement phase, this is done.
I mean, it's not done, but it's as good as far as I know. So within the next week, we should have it all signed off.
You're making a deal now with Eddie Hearn. You know, earlier last year, you had some...
So there you go. Yeah. The deal isn't done, but it's as good as done. And this was 2 days ago. We've now got the Ring magazine somewhere. Here it is. Magazine post. Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn is now reportedly being finalised for April 26th in London. The fight will take place at middleweight 160 and have a rehydration clause set at 170. Let me have a look at Eubank. I swear Eubank's been fighting at 168. Right? If you've been fighting at 168 and some people are saying he looks a bit... That last fight, he might be a bit jittery. We've certainly seen... What was that fight called? What was the fight he had? Oh, come on, people. He had a fight with some dude. Oh, Beefy Smith, B-level Beefy. He had a fight with B-level Beefy and his chops was gone. I think that fight was at 160. I think that's what it might be, you know. I know, tell you, people have been making stories up. I've made a whole bunch of stories up for you, man. He hasn't been at 160 yet, even a bit. He's been at 160, to be fair. So I ain't gonna lie to you. All the bars I was fixing to put onto you, man, today are completely defunct and no good. He's been at 160. So anyway, listen. Whether he's been at 160 or whether he's been at 168. The fact is, he got in there B-level beefy, and he looked a bit iffy. I guess, he put the work on Skarametsky, but his last fight, Kamil Skarametsky, yeah, but there was a bit, people were somewhat critical. Can't really remember. Did he get buzzed? There was some sort of narrative to it. People weren't that impressed. Maybe it was because he got a few knockdowns early in the fight and didn't finish his dinner. I can't remember exactly. There was points Kamil Skarametsky came back and made it a bit more competitive. But Eubank, for me, was always in control from what I remember, which isn't a lot, to tell the truth. I think I was cooking dinner at the time. Had it on my phone. I wasn't really watching. So basically what I'm telling you, these bars you're hearing now, it could be true, it could not be true. I could have made it all up in my head, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, people, I swear Eubank went to 168. Oh, he fought James Deshot. He fought... Yeah, look, it's really weird, look. So, in 2017, he went up to 168. And from 2017, when he first made the transition to 168, he then fought for 2.5 years or 2 years, culminating at James Deshot. And then he went back down again. Really quite unusual. Eubank has got a big frame. I think he's probably 5'8" or 5'9". He's got a decent frame on him. Anyway, he went back down. He obviously had the banana peel with Liam Smith. Groves, that's the other thing as well. Where's Groves in here? Where's Groves? He fought Groves for sure. And that must have been 168. Yeah, okay. That was in the period. So in that 2-year period from 2017 to 2019, he fought Groves in the middle of that period at 168. Eubank's 35, 40 years old now. So there is a big question, to be honest. Yes, he's still making the weight. And even when they had the face-off in Saudi, and Eubank had to say, oh man, I'm weight drained. Conor Benn came over off the Moody Eggs. Obviously, Conor Benn had just visited Dr. Al-Shabaab. That's what most likely happened. Conor Benn's off his head, shouting off in Eubank's face. Eubank's literally bone dry. He barely speak. His mouth's got all the squarms around him. He's got white lips, man. He's bone dry. Can barely walk. Eubank's like, he's dying, man. And Conor Benn's just got the pattern from his moody doctor. Got them pills, man. Bah, he's like, all geared up and whatnot. But listen, he's still making the weight. What we don't know is, a la Liam Smith, what's left of him at 160. It's not saying that at 168 he's going to have a rock solid chin. But, Liam Smith is, surely at this point in time, he's more proven than Conor Benn. But there are similarities there in terms of their styles. Hands up here and apply somewhat pressure. And what was the shot that caught... It must have been a hook that caught Eubank, because there was controversy about the elbow. You can only really elbow someone if it's a hook. What do we know about hooks? Conor Benn, he loved to throw the hooks on the inside. That said, I think Eubank has tightened up his defence. I don't know why Eubank left Bomac, to be honest. Eubank's best performance ever was against Liam Smith 2. And that was the only time Terence Crawford's trainer was in the corner. It was quite a transformation, to be honest, how clinical he looked. And then he got in there with Scarametta and he brought some other moody... I don't know what Chris Eubank's doing. He's too busy touring the world playing poker, man. If you're going to box, you should surely... Eubank must have felt how good he felt in that fight. What would you change trainers for? I don't know. Crawford, when did... Okay, he fought Skarametsky in October. When did Crawford fight? August. So Crawford and Bomac would have been done their camp by August. That would have left the best part of what? I think it was the start of August as well, August 5th. So you'd have had at least 10 weeks with Bomac, undivided attention. Chris Eubank, man, go back to Bomac. Seriously. I rarely say that about trainers, but I did see when Eubank was with Roy Jones Jr., as good as Roy Jones Jr. may have been, he looked rubbish. He looked rubbish against Liam Chiniams, he looked rubbish against Beefy Smith, and he looked great against Beefy Smith in the rematch. Is it a coincidence? Is it not? He looked really quite refined against Beefy Smith. Go back with Bomac, man. Pay that man the money. What are you doing? What are you playing with it for? The problem with Eubank is scorned by his dad to some extent. Yeah. If a trainer demands 10% from a fighter, some trainers like Brendan Ingle, they had a rule: we're taking 20% or whatever percent it was, no matter what. I don't care if you're the biggest guy making 100 trillion. That's how it works. It feeds the ecosystem. Yeah. For the ones that made it, you essentially subsidise the ones who are up and coming. And if you respect the sport, you'd understand that. Because guess what? When Brendan Ingle was driving around the place with Naz, no doubt taking money out of his own pocket to do so, Naz was obliged. Oh, thank you, Brendan, for spending your petrol money driving me here, there, everywhere. Which I assume to be more or less the case. That what we know for a fact is, you know what I mean? These lower level trainers, you do it for the love of the game. You're not at the bottom level. You're not doing it because you're getting heaps of cash flooding in. So when one of your talents make it, it's respectful to pay that dues back. Anyway, people like Nazia, and I'm not saying Eubank's. In fact, it might be the case of Eubank. I swear Eubank's had a trainer before and they fell out because he didn't want to. Junior didn't want to pay the man whatever. Because Eubank Senior's got the whole bars of, oh, we do the fighting, so we should have it all kind of thing. That's why for a long time Eubank Jr. took on that Ronnie dude. Is it Ronnie? Because Ronnie, I don't know Ronnie. He's probably, well, listen, from what I understand, Ronnie, yeah, if Eubank Jr. says, listen, I'll throw you some little piece of change, because Ronnie's made his money. You know the old head who trained Chris Eubank Sr., that Ronnie dude, he's made his money. So if Eubank says, hey man, I'll throw you some change, he'll take the change. He's in retirement anyway. But other trainers, it might be the case that, I can believe it. Bomax, to me, seems pretty solid. He's going to want his. Yeah? And Bomax talked about his relationship with Crawford. There's never been no funny business. Yeah? He gets 20% of whatever Crawford makes. And I respect that. That's how it should be. Bomax was there when you was broke as a joke. And he was likely working for free a lot of the time. Inevitably. Because when you're making $2,000 for a fight, there's no way. Or even if you call it 10 grand. If you make 10 grand for a fight, and that trainer's training you for 6 months or 3 months, there can never be enough money there, ever, to pay that trainer in full. Hence, the off chance you do make it, it's respectful, man. But anyway, the point I'm making, Chris Eubank, he probably like, Bomac, because Bomac knows his worth via Crawford, he can expect them real coins. Eubank will be like, oh, he wants 20%. I think I'll go to Las Vegas and get some moody Las Vegas trainer who'll take 50 grand. That's the kind of mindset Chris Eubank says is on. It's not on quality. It's on finding the cheapest dude. And even Kell Brook tried that one, and he ended up back where he started. It's a fallacy, man. Oh, I can save some shekels here and some shekels there. Oops, you get punched up. Even worse than you was getting punched up before. It doesn't mean necessarily you're going to win. It doesn't mean if Dominic Ingle had been in Kell Brook's corner, for the Terence Crawford fight, he was going to smoke him. But it's one of them ones, people. It's one of them. Anyway, I've digressed here. This weren't supposed to be about Eubank, to be fair. This is more to do with Conor Benn. So Eubank's been fighting at 160. They've now put in a rehydration clause at 170. Yeah? That sucks. That's fugazi. If you fight at 160, they should be banned. Yeah? I don't so much mind catch weights. I mean, there's so many weights. You just shouldn't really need catch weights. But I get it. If two men agree to weigh in at a weight, that's one thing. There shouldn't be rehydration clauses. I mean, what else you can do? Oh, you can't use your left hand. Let's start putting that in there as well. Oh, you can only use your left hand 20 times per round, right? Where do you stop here? You weigh in at 160. Fine. From that point, if you want to balloon up and be coming at 210 pounds, that's your right to do so. I don't rate this. I don't know why Eubank and Chris Eubank Senior's come out recently in the last few days talking out about this situation, saying he doesn't want to see it. Chris Eubank Senior recently said in the last few days, my son's walking around at some massive weight. What kind of weight was it? It was like 190 maybe. He's walking around 190. And Chris Eubank Senior implied, I think it might have been on TalkSport, Senior implied that he was the one he has some sort of clandestine relationship with the Robert guy who runs the BBBOC, and it was him who put the call in to get this fight pulled. That's what he implied. I'm sure it was TalkSport. It was on somewhere. I can't remember where I heard it. And he's basically saying now that if he has anything to do with it, this fight won't happen. Because Eubank Jr. is too big to be boiling down to 160. And that's bad enough. He does look dead at 160. He looks dead at 160. And if you think he looked dead at 160, and now he can't even rehydrate to Eubank probably goes to what, 175, 180 maybe? Them £5, it don't sound like a lot. When you're dead at the weight, and you're 35 million years old, and you've been in this game a long time to be fair, I think Eubank, he's not had the most hard career, but he's had a solid career, I'd say. You're 35 million years old, knocking on to 36 million years old, and you got this dude draining you down. Now the argument is, well, YB, Conor Benn's going up 2 weight classes, so to some extent it does balance out, to some extent. I think the first fight, Eubank was ordered or agreed to weigh in at 157. So there has been some leeway. They've scrapped the 157 or 158 pound weigh-in. And now okay, we'll do 160 and a £10. Maybe Eubank knows something we don't. Maybe Eubank knows, well, I was only going to weigh in 171 anyway. Do you believe that? £10, 5 kilo? How much is it big? To be fair, £10 is a decent... I'm trying to think, actually. Maybe not true. I've heard people put on 10% of their body weight. They might lose in water. So if that was the case, for 160, that would be 176. I think that's... Let's call that... I'm making it up out my arse here. I'm not going to lie. Then they can actually tell a lie. Usyk would weigh in at cruiserweight at £200. And he'd fight at 215. Not even that, actually. 210, probably, actually. Because his first heavyweight fights. Let's have a look at Usyk. Let's find out how much people are really putting on. And we'll also look at David Haye as well. But David Haye had a bit of a different frame. Usyk's more of a... I think Usyk's got a similar frame. Certainly more similar as a cruiserweight to Eubank than David. David Haye's got the kind of... the Mike Tyson look. Got no chin, but... Has David Haye been clocked before? No, he's got a chin. I don't know if he's got a chin, actually. He cacked his pants with Vlad. He didn't get touched from Vlad. He didn't want no work from Vlad. Anyway... So Usyk was weighing in at £200, and then for his first heavyweight fight, he was 215. So that implies he probably was weighing in 210, to be honest, because he would have put on weight from where he's when you rehydrate, you are bone dry, and you're literally putting water in. So if Usyk goes into his first heavyweight fight at 215, he probably was weighing on fight night 210, 211, maybe 212, maybe. So that implies he's putting on 5% of his weight. If Eubank put 5% of his weight on, 5% plus 160 would be about 168. So, listen, maybe Eubank knows. Maybe Eubank knows that, whatever, call it 170, mate. I'm not going to weigh more than that anyway. Look at Devin Haney. Devin Haney's another one. Devin Haney, who has a similar frame to Eubank, he'd go in there, he'd weigh in 140 and be in the ring 175. So you just don't know what these guys are doing or are not doing. The fact Eubank did come back down to 160 though implies it's not that hard for him, right? He went to 168 to fight the pinnacle at 168 of George Groves. He then came back down again. If he was proper dead at 160, he'd just stay there. It's not like he went down to 160 and did a whole bunch of mad things. He arguably, the evidence implies, he felt better at 160, right? If you have fights at 168 and he must have felt something in there or thought, I'm not as effective, and gone back down. Why? It couldn't have been that hard for you to make 160 because you'd just stay at 168 and fight bums, right? It's not like he's been up. It's not like he jumped up to 168 and come back down because Canelo, he was fixing to get in there with him and make loads of money or Triple G. He's come down and fought bum of the mumps. He could have stayed at 168 and fight bum of the mumps. Which leads me to believe he came down because he prefers it at 160. And therefore, he can't be dying at the weight. And therefore, the 170 pound rehydration clause shouldn't theoretically be a big factor. But I don't like it on principle, man. Get rid of it. Again, like I say though, Conor Benn is coming up 2 weight divisions. So it has to be something. You'd argue there'd have to be something that gives here. You couldn't have Eubank just doing it all his own way. He has no. Where's Eubank disadvantage here? If it wasn't the rehydration clause, I'll tell you what it is now. His age. He's long. He's only 35 though. It's not like 38 or 39 or 40 or 58 like Mike Tyson. Listen, I'm just happy the fight's getting done. It was the right fight to make. Both men can faff around with real title fights if they choose after this one. Let's get this in now before both men are washed as such. Why not? Let's start with this one. Let's see who's, you know what I mean? Let's get this one on now. It's better to get these ones out of the way, because them other fights where Hen wants to fight for a belt or whatever, they can come or they can go. There'll always be belts around, and Conor's got a big enough name from his daddy that he'll always be giving him opportunities. So this is the fight that can expire, right? Eubank at some point in the next few years is going to go away, I'd assume. So this fight has an expiry date. Conor Hen fighting randoms for world title belts can happen any time. And to be honest, he might get popped, right? Seeing his last few performances and how he's gone life and death, he could get popped by some random dude called Leo Santa Cruz or something like that. And it's like, oh. So you might as well do it now. Who have I got winning it? If Eubank was with Bomac, Terence Crawford's trainer, I'd feel a lot more confident. If Eubank had multiple camps on the trot with Bomac, I'd feel really confident we'd have at least 2 fights now. We'd have the beefy rematch and we'd have Karametsky. We'd have some good data. But I don't know who he's training with. I don't know what he's going to come look at. You can say, well, IB, he's 35, he knows what he's doing. Clearly not. When you look at the difference between the beefy 1 fight and the beefy 2 fight, that tells me that Eubank really is coachable. It's not like he went into the... In fact, his style has changed multiple times. His style has gone from really aggressive versus Billy Joe, just wading in all loose as a goose, and then he turned into an out-and-out boxer. In fact, Billy Joe and George Groves, Eubank was more of a brawler, to be honest. Then he goes with Roy Jones Jr. and he's trying to give it the Moody Yippo and slipping, sliding and pulling back with his chin in the air, right? And then with Bomac, he's more orthodox and clinical. So he is coachable. What we don't know is, what corny coach is he going to fly in there? Yeah? We don't know. So we don't know if he... Listen, let me tell you now for free. If Eubank turns up with that leaky-deaky, beefy 1 style, it's a gunslinger. It could go either way. Eubank might get caught on his dehydrated 35-million-year-old chops, and it's over for him. He hitting a stanky leg. Right? Oh, he might go in there leaky-deaky off the beefy 1 performance and manage to outbox Conor Hen because he's too long. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just a toss-up, to be honest. And you'd have to lean. Let's see what the odds are. I remember before the first fight, Eubank was a big favourite. At the time, you put a tenner on Eubank and you got about £5 profit back. So Eubank was a big favourite. And at the same time, if you put a tenner on Conor Hen, you made about £20 profit. Those were the odds last time. I expect them to be somewhere similar. Do I want to take part in it? I don't. Not at all. There's no value there for me. If anything, I'd probably lean towards... Well, Conor Hen can't punch no more. So I don't know. It's a complete toss-up. It's a fight I'll enjoy watching. I ain't going to gamble nothing, though. Unless Eubank was a massive underdog. If Eubank's magically become a massive underdog, I'll punt some on him. Experience-wise. And his size and his... Yeah, that's what you'd have to go with. Experience and size. Because Conor Hen hasn't proved he can punch at 147. Right? He's not like he's blown out. Look at these cats he's fought. Conor Benn box rack. Okay, so he fought these ones here. He blew Algieri's back out. He blew Chris Van Heerden's back out. And since then, they've been stinkers. He fought this cat here, Rodolfo. He scored no knockdowns. And he went 10 rounds, life and death. He then fought Peter Dobson. Again, he went 12 rounds, no knockdowns. So he can't punch at 147. He can't punch at 147, man. Yeah, he can't punch at 147. So to come up to 160, he definitely ain't going to be able to punch. I'm not even sure he's going to be able to pack Liam Beefy Smith power, to be honest. And he's going to be a lot smaller than Beefy Smith. They say Conor Benn's 5'8". Forget about it. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way he's 5'8". You can forget about that one there. If he's 5'8", let's have a look at the picture again. Listen, if he's 5'8", then Eubank's 5'10". Right, there's at least 2 inches there, I'd say. Pause. I want to see how tall Eubank allegedly is. How big is this alleged cat? Oh, he's 5'11". He's not 5'11". Okay, either way, they make these numbers up anyway, but that's about right. Eubank's about 2 or 3 inches taller than Conor Benn. Got no chance. Without no pop in his shots. And you can say the cliche, well, IB, you don't have to hit hard, you just got to hit him in the right place, or whatever. People, yeah, that cliche, let me tell you about the cliche right now. That cliche, where was it with Peter Dobson, right? Because if he could punch, then he just clipped Peter Dobson. And that cliche, let's see if Rodolfo's been knocked out before. No, he hasn't, to be fair, but who's he fought, man? What killers has he fought? Yeah? Come on, people, he ain't fought no one. So these are bum of the month campaigns. These are bum of the month campaigns he's in there with. So forget about it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe. I got Eubank. And I'll be back, you best believe it.